You were born,
Yeah.
and you didn't have dangly bits. So I'm going to guess
are
you were.
Are you on live TV asking what my genitals look like? Is that?
I'm saying that logically, you were on your birth certificate. You were.
Julia, if you want to see what my genitals look like, buy me a drink first.
This is how we have, for time immemorial, been able to tell what is a boy or a girl baby when they're born.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Julian Discourse. In this explosive TalkTV clash, watch Julia Hartley-Brewer completely corner activist Shivani Dave over the absurd push to treat biological facts as a hate crime. When Dave tries to deflect with ridiculous arguments about policing language, Julia drops a massive reality check. You cannot force free people to tell biological lies just to protect someone's feelings. Hit subscribe and let's watch the elite narrative collapse in real time.
Joining me right now is commentator and activist Shivani Dave, who joins us in the studio with Candace Holdsworth, who's still here as well. Good afternoon. Lovely to see you today. Look, this is just a policy, that's being looked at. This is something that we know a lot of Labour activists would like to happen, many on the front bench as well. The idea being that refusing to call someone by their preferred pronouns is an expression of transphobia, I guess is the reasoning, and therefore it is a hate crime. Do you think it is?
I think this is hilarious. This is a joke, right? We're being punked, right? Because nobody has said this. Nobody from Labour's front bench have said this. This is not a Labour policy. This is something that was written up in the Daily Mail as something that had come from a Tory source. And we know that the Tories have been, of late, making up Labour policies. We heard of the meat tax. That was a policy that never was. The council's going to start limiting how often you can go to the shops, another policy that never was. This is a joke.
No, to be fair, on those policies, those net zero policies, that was about what the Climate Change Commission and others had suggested would be necessary to reach their targets.
But those were never Labour policies, were they? No, they were never Labour policies.
No, it wasn't that they were Labour policies. But
just like that, this isn't a Labour policy.
But we know when we have a Labour leader and Labour front benchers who say that a trans woman is a woman, defending the right of a man who has committed rape or sexual assault against a woman to be able to say, I'm now living as a woman, I'm a trans woman, and therefore the right to go into a woman's prison. That is where, this is the logical extension of that, is it not?
No, because this isn't a policy. This has come out of thin air.
On appeal, thrown out. For me, I completely understand your preferred pronouns are they and them.
Yeah.
You are a biological female.
If you say so.
I don't think it's me saying so. I think it's a matter of fact, is it not?
Depends on who you're asking, right?
But there's a difference. But you understand there's a difference between sex and gender.
I totally get that.
So you were born.
Yeah.
And you didn't have dangly bits. So I'm going to guess you were.
Are you on live TV asking what my genitals look like? I'm
saying that logically, you were on your birth certificate. You were.
Julia, if you want to see what my genitals look like, buy me a drink first. Come on.
At the very least.
Come on.
No, I'm just saying that this is how we have, for time immemorial, being able to tell what is a boy or a girl baby when they're born. OK, we looked down, I had a baby, what is it? They didn't go, we'll do a load of tests and ask the baby in 16 years' time. They went, looked down and said, it's a girl. OK, so that's how we've done it. Right, OK. Not to make light of it. You say that you don't like her and she, you want to be they, them. Now, for me, I'd say, well, OK, use any words you choose to use. You're entitled to do that. It's a free country. However, for me, they and them are plurals, referring to if there were two or more people. I don't feel comfortable doing that. So is it OK if I'm otherwise showing you respect and warmth? Is it OK for you? Do you think it's OK for me to say, I don't want to do that? I find it offensive to be asked to misuse language in that way, as I view it.
I mean, we could debate all day back and forth about the use of gender-neutral pronouns as a singular or a plural of a pronoun. Like, you've got academics, scholars, people involved in language and to much greater depth than me who will say that using they, them as a singular pronoun is, in fact, entirely an appropriate way to use that word. If you don't want to do it, fine. I've been on the show before and you've referred to me as a woman, you've referred to me as she or her before. And look, I've not kicked off about it. I've not got upset about it. You do you, I'm going to do me. But on your point about the LGBT hate crimes and the want from Labour to issue those punishments in the same way that they would for hate crimes regarding race or religion, would you not think that hate crimes of any variety should be given the same level of treatment.
I suppose for me, the next question about what we describe as a hate crime. So, for instance, someone saying, I consider it to be unacceptable to expect me to use incorrect grammar and to tell a lie, a biological lie. I consider that to be that's my view on that is as protected as your right to say this is what I prefer. And a few years ago, I would have, as a matter of courtesy, used your preferred pronouns and have done in the past with other, say, trans guests as well. And yet now I feel very differently about it after cases where, say, women have been told by judges, and this has actually happened in a British court, you must refer to your alleged rapist as she or her and say, she inserted her penis. I just think that we have crossed a line there where it's a matter of courtesy, but it shouldn't be the law.
So there is a case of somebody who self-describes as a TERF, trans exclusionary radical feminist, and
it's a term of abuse by
she defines.
Oh, but that's because we've taken it as
no. She defines herself as that. So I'm just using the language that she has used. She harassed a trans person on Twitter, calling a trans person a pig in a wig. She was convicted for malicious communication after harassing this person for a huge amount of time. That was then overturned on appeal. Look, whether or not I think it's right if somebody does deliberately misgender somebody or does not deliberately misgender somebody based on whatever their ideological point of view is, whatever. But at the moment, we are seeing that trans hate crimes are rising. Just last week, I was here talking to you about the fact that they've increased by 11% in the last year.
Reports of trans
hate crimes. The Home Office, I'm glad you could pull me up on that, because the Home Office actually said that, according to their research, 90% of trans hate crimes go unreported. Gallup, which is an LGBT abuse charity, has seen an increase of 65% of hate crimes being reported to them, not the police, in the last year.
But again, it's how we describe those things. But again, I don't like the case involved, the case you just mentioned, someone basically being abusive online. That's very different, I think, from someone saying, with all due respect, I don't accept that men can become women and women can become men. I don't believe that people are non-binary, other than those who are the tiny, tiny percentage of people who are born with both sets of male and female chromosomes.
Intersex and non-binary are two different things.
No, exactly. I know, that's my point. And therefore, that's a very different thing. And therefore, I don't want to, for want of a better phrase, play along with that. But that's not hate, is it?
I mean, look, you can do what you want to do, and
no, but it's not hate. You said that. Is that hate or not?
The way that you've treated me, I wouldn't describe as hate, right? I don't know what you do with other people, whether they would describe that as hatred or not.
But then it's subjective.
Of course it's subjective.
But that's Candace Holdsworth, bring you in. This is where the issue is. So if Shivani says that, OK, that's fine by me, I can see that you're not full of hatred towards me. But if someone, I could say, have exactly the same conversation with someone else, and they could say, well, that's a hate crime.
Yes, I think we do need a distinction, though, between someone being genuinely hateful and abusive, and, like you say, harassing someone online, and someone just stating their genuinely held belief that biological reality is more important than gender expression. And we need to make those distinctions in public life. And I think the law is very poor at doing that, because it is such a subjective thing. And it is based on personal interactions.
But that's what comes into... That's why police get involved. That's why there's a whole legal system that we have in place to deal with these things. What I can say is you can generally tell, right, when someone is being mean to you, or
you can also generally tell when someone is a man or a woman.
Well,
or whether there's one of them or
I don't know about that. Online, I get told that I'm a boy. Online, I get told I'm a girl. Look, people don't always know this whole. We can always tell. I think that's eventually.
Generally,
I think that's then eventually going to end up harming cisgender women the most, because they're going to have.
Women are going to say cisgender. We're women. There's only one kind.
Women are then going to start having their bodies policed in the same way that trans people have their bodies policed.
But they already are.
They are, and it's only going to get worse for them. You know, if you're a particularly tall biological woman, if you've got a biological woman with big hands, those kinds of things are then going to start being something that people start to...
But doesn't this all come about by... The problem has all started with men who want to live their lives as if they were women, encroaching on biological women's safe spaces.
No.
Whether it's a refuge, whether it's a prison, whether it's a changing room or a toilet.
This is about trans people being able to live freely.
But who's stopping trans people living freely?
Well, all of this rhetoric then.
But your ability to live free doesn't require. Why does that require me to use your words instead of my words? My right to live freely. Time is against us.
What you just witnessed on TalkTV is the exact point where progressive politeness turns into institutional authoritarianism. When Julia Hartley-Brewer confronted Shivani Dave, she exposed the fundamental flaw in the modern left's agenda. They are no longer asking for personal tolerance. They are using the machinery of the legal system to compel biological lies and punish ordinary citizens who refuse to comply. To understand why this cultural battle is so dangerous, you have to look at the undeniable timeline of legal overreach. For years, activists dismissed public concerns about compelled speech as a right-wing conspiracy theory. But look at what actually happened in the UK courts. We saw the chilling prosecution of Caroline Farrow, a mother and Christian journalist who was subjected to a police investigation and charged with malicious communications simply for referring to a transgender individual by their biological sex on social media. Even more disturbing, we have seen judges in British courts legally instructing barristers to refer to biological male rapists as she and her during trials, forcing victims to describe their attackers with female pronouns on the witness stand. When the legal system prioritizes the feelings of a perpetrator over biological truth and the trauma of a victim, justice is completely compromised. This is why the public is aggressively fighting back against establishment overreach. We saw a turning point with the landmark release of the Cass Review, which officially confirmed what conservatives have said for years. Gender ideology has been systematically elevated over objective science, biological reality, and child safeguarding. You have an absolute right to speak the truth. No government, no political party, and no activist group has the authority to criminalize common sense. Thank you for watching Julian Discourse. If you refuse to let the establishment silence basic reality, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and I'll see you next time.